winter solstice fire ritual, the winter dwelling and life ode of the Indians. Friends, close your eyes. Let your breath slow down with my voice. Right now, you are curled up inside a sturdy buffalo hide tent. The scent of burning pine resin and smoked meat lingers in the air, a smell so rich and deep, it seems to hold the memory of summer forests and autumn hunts. Outside, the wind howls, sweeping snow against the hide walls like the low growl of an ancient beast. You reach up and touch a string of animal teeth and dried mugwort hanging from the tent ceiling, placed there by your mother for the coming winter festival. The teeth, smoothed by time, feel warm under your fingers. The mugwort scents the air, guarding against winter's chill and calling for the spirit's protection. This humble string is the messenger of the festival, telling you that the deep winter days of tribal faith and warmth are near. You sit up slowly, the double-layer fur blanket slipping from your shoulders. A cool draft finds its way in, and you pull the blanket closer, tucking it beneath your chin. Beneath your feet, dried grass and deerskins spread over the tent floor still hold the warmth of last night's fire, carrying the faint, sweet smell of earth and dried herbs. At the center of the tent, the fire has burned down to glowing embers, cracking softly now and then, casting dancing shadows on the hides that line the walls, each stain and mark telling a story of survival, of a hunt, of a life given so that yours may continue. In the dim, pulsing light, you can almost see the shapes of running buffalo, the arc of a flying arrow, the careful hands of women scraping hides. You lift a corner of the door hide. Snowflakes drift in, brushing your cheek with icy tenderness. Outside, the camp sleeps under a thick white blanket. The world is hushed, wrapped in a silence so complete you can hear the soft shush-shush of snow sliding from pine boughs. In the fading lavender light, distant pines stand as dark silhouettes, branches heavy with snow that sifts down in sparkling powder when the wind stirs. By the camp's edge, firewood is stacked neatly under hides, only the rough tops visible, the source of winter's warmth. And an essential part of the festival, a few tribespeople move through the snow like slow shadows, sweeping pathways with broad brushes of bound twigs, their breath clouding in the cold, their low, murmuring voices weaving into the quiet like another kind of warmth. Close the flap. Don't let the wind put out the fire. Your mother's voice comes softly from near the hearth. You let the hide fall back into place and turn. She sits by the embers, a bone needle in her hand, threading sinew through a worn hide shirt. The firelight catches the deep brown of her eyes, the gentle lines at their corners. Her hair, dark as a raven's wing, is tied back with a strip of soft leather, a few strands escaping to lie against her cheek, lit by the fire's glow. Her hands, resting in her lap for a moment, bear the marks of years working hides, sewing garments, grinding grains, each callus a testament to her care for the family, for the tribe. Her fingers, though worn, move with a skill that speaks of a lifetime of practice, repairing a tear with tiny, perfect stitches, adding tiny wolf teeth along the edges for strength and beauty. This garment is for the winter festival, when everyone must dress in their finest, most carefully made clothes to show reverence to the spirits and to each other. You settle beside her on the thick fur, picking up the soft, supple young deerskin your father chose for you just after the first frost. It still carries the faint, clean smell of the forest. Mother will sew it into a festival robe before the ceremony begins. 3 more days until the festival, she says quietly, not looking up from her work. The elders say this snow came early and heavy, a test from the earth, and also a gift. Do you remember drying wild berries in late summer? How the sun felt on your back. Every berry we saved then is an offering now, a taste of sweetness for the children during the long white months. Her voice is a low melody, blending with the fire's whisper. Her words open a door in your memory. The firelight, the hides, the snow outside begin to soften and blur, replaced by the bright, hot sun of late summer. The rich scent of the forest after rain, the distant shouts, and thrilling silence of the hunt. You remember the busy, golden days of preparation. Your father's strong, sure form moving through the tall grass on the hunting grounds. Your sisters laughing like running water as they laid out handfuls of ruby red berries on flat stones to dry. The medicine woman moving through the undergrowth with quiet focus, her fingers knowing each plant by touch. Those days were not cold, but they were filled with a purposeful warmth, with the unspoken unity of the tribe, and with the quiet, patient wisdom of survival passed from hand to hand, generation to generation. All that preparation, the smoking, the drying, the sewing, the storing, now gives you the strength to face the frozen world and reason to celebrate its harsh beauty. The wind still moans outside, a long, low note that seems to come from the heart of the land itself. But inside, the fire's warmth surrounds you like an embrace, watching your mother's needle flash in the firelight, catching a spark, and then losing it. You feel a quiet gladness rise within, a deep-down certainty. The winter festival is near, a sacred time to honor the delicate balance of survival, to feel the sturdy, invisible bonds of family and tribe, and to understand in your bones the deep, old connection between people and the living land. Let's drift back further to where this winter's comfort began, in the lingering warmth of the departing summer. It was a late summer morning, the sun not yet fierce, but promising heat, scattering coins of light through the forest canopy. You walked behind your father and the other men, your feet bare and tough on the cool earth, stepping on dew-covered leaves that whispered secrets with every footfall. The air itself tasted green, smelled of damp soil, crushed fern, and the sweet, sun-warmed resin of pine. This was the season of the hunt, the vital, rhythmic beginning of winter preparations. The forest was a palace of plenty, and you were there to receive its gifts with gratitude and skill. Your father led, his back straight as a young pine, a long yew bow slung across his back, string humming faintly with his movement, a stone axe, its edge gleaming dully, hung at his side. He paused often, a statue of attention, studying the story written in the soil, a crushed leaf, a turned stone, a faint impression in the soft earth. Buffalo, he murmured finally, his eyes sharp as flint chips. A herd moving toward the river. Not far. Stay close to me, and let the forest keep your silence. His voice was so low, it was almost part of the forest sound. You held your breath, making yourself light, following in his exact footsteps. The other men, unspoken signals passing between them, spread out like the wings of a great bird, forming a wide half-circle ahead, each man finding a tree or a thicket, blending into the landscape. Bows held ready, but not drawn. The only sounds were the buzz of insects, the cry of a distant hawk, and the thump of your own heart. Then ahead, the trees thinned into a sunlit clearing, and there they were, a group of buffalo, maybe 20 strong, grazed peacefully. Great, dark-coated mountains of life, their hides gleaming blue-black in the patches of sun, their powerful shoulders rolling with each step. A calf, still reddish-brown, stayed close to its mother. Your father chose his moment, his movements fluid and unhurried. He drew his bow, the sinew string tightening with a soft creak. The arrow, tipped with sharp, chipped stone, flew with a sound like a parting breath. It struck the young buffalo just behind the shoulder. The animal made a soft, surprised sound, stumbled, and fell to its knees. Then, onto its side, the herd lifted their massive heads, a wave of alarm passing through them. Then the air was filled with a different music, the hiss-thud of arrows, the shouts of men, the deep, panicked bellows of the buffalo. The men moved with a practiced, dangerous grace, dodging sudden charges, using the trees for cover, striking with axes when the moment was right. Your father was among them, a figure of focused intensity, drawing, shooting, moving. When the last great animal lay still on the trampled grass, a profound quiet returned, broken only by the heavy breathing of the men. They stood, weary, but smiling in a tired, proud way, skin and clothes stained with earth, and the life they had taken to sustain their own. Your father walked back to you, his face solemn. He knelt and wiped a smudge of dirt from your cheek with his thumb. "You did well," he said simply, and his hand on your shoulder was rough and warm and solid as a rock. You kept the silence. That is the first lesson. Soon, as if summoned by the silence, the women arrived, their steps quick and quiet. They carried sharp flint knives, woven baskets, and empty sacks. They worked with a quiet, efficient rhythm that was its own kind of reverence. Some began the careful work of skinning, their knives slipping between hide and muscle with precise skill, preserving every inch of the precious leather. Others butchered the great carcasses, carving out rich haunches, strips of tender loin, organs that would be used for food and tools. Your mother, after handing you a clean piece of soft hide to wipe your hands, joined the others. She showed you how to begin scraping a buffalo hide, how to use a blunt tool to remove the last bits of flesh and fat, how to rub the inside with a paste made from soapberry juice to clean and soften it. These hides, she said, her voice a steady thread beside you, will keep the cold from our bodies, the wind from our tents. They are also offerings for the festival, gifts. We return to the spirit of the animal and to the earth. We treat them with care, with respect, to show our gratitude for their sacrifice. The sun slanted long and golden through the trees as the group, now burdened with heavy, precious loads of meat, hides, and bundles of medicinal greens, began the slow walk back to camp. The mood was one of weary satisfaction, but back at camp, as the first stars appeared, the work had only just begun. It would continue for many days, a transformation of raw life into lasting sustenance. In the mornings, hides were washed in the cold stream, then staked out on sunny stretches of grass, pegged tight to dry. You learned to watch the sky, to gather them at the first hint of rain. Berries, deep blue juniper berries, bright red rose hips, tart currants were spread on clean, flat stones or woven mats to bask in the fierce midday sun. You and the other children were given the task of turning them, of shooing away curious birds, your fingers stained with sweet juice. Your mother showed you the way of storing for the deepest winter. She took dried acorns, their bitter tannins leached out by days of soaking in the stream, and packed them into sections of hollowed out cedar logs. Cedar keeps away the worms and the damp, she explained. The logs were then buried in a deep pit lined with dry sand, a hidden treasure chest of food against the hungry months. Smoking meat was a slower, more watchful art. A special low shelter was built, a frame of green branches over which the thin strips of meat were hung. Beneath, a fire was kept constantly smoldering, not flaming, fed with green pine needles, aromatic cedar boughs, and sometimes a handful of sage. The smoke was cool and fragrant. You took turns with the other children tending this fire, learning to read its needs, adding damp moss to slow it, dry twigs to raise it, always keeping it at the perfect, steady smolder. The meat turned a rich, deep mahogany color, firm to the touch, infused with the taste of the forest itself. After days and nights of this patient watchfulness, it was ready to be moved to the storage tents, hung high in the cool, dark air where it would keep until needed. You also went with the medicine woman, a gentle, knowing woman named She Who Listens, into the deeper woods to gather the tribe's pharmacy. She pointed out dandelion roots, fat and pale, good for cleansing fevers. She showed you mugwort, its silver-backed leaves helpful for dreaming and for easing aches, and fragrant mint for soothing coughs and sore spirits. These are gifts from the earth, she said, her eyes holding a deep, quiet knowledge. We take only what we need, and we leave the roots. We leave some flowers to go to seed, so they may grow again for our children's children. That is respect. That is the agreement. That is how we survive in balance. Her words settled in you like seeds. Back at camp, the gathered herbs were tied in small bundles and hung from the tent poles to dry, filling the air with a clean, green perfume. Later, they would be crumbled and stored in small, carefully labeled leather pouches, and all around you. Everyone worked together on the festival items. The men sat in circles, polishing stone blades for ceremonial knives, carving simple, graceful patterns, spirals for the journey of life, lines for rain, dots for stars, into bowls and platters. The women gathered clay from the riverbank, kneading it until it was smooth, then shaping small, powerful figures. A buffalo with its head lowered, a deer poised to leap, a bird with wings spread. These were fired in a hot pit, emerging hard and lasting. You and the other children were sent to search for feathers, the iridescent blue of a jay, the stark white of an owl, the warm brown of a hawk. These you wove with thin strips of bark into bright, fluttering garlands as summer's heat faded into the crisp gold of autumn. A profound change came over the camp. The frantic activity of harvest eased into a slower, more deliberate rhythm of organization. The storerooms, once echoing and empty, now grew pleasingly, reassuringly full. Rows of smoked meat, bundles of dried fruit and vegetables, stacks of soft tanned hides, shelves of herb pouches and clay figures, piles of bright feather garlands, all stood as a physical map of the season's labor. Looking at these stores in the fading afternoon light, you felt a deep sense of peace, a quiet pride that was not yours alone, but belonged to the whole tribe. The work was done. The tribe was ready for the silence and challenge of winter, and ready for the joyful, solemn gratitude of the festival. Now let yourself settle into the deep, quiet heart of winter. Winter mornings dawned late. In a soft, gray hush, you woke not to light, but to sensation, the lingering, earthy warmth of the fire's remains, the comforting, familiar smells of smoked meat and pine sap that seemed to have soaked into the very hides of the tent. The space was quiet, but for the soft, intermittent crackle of the last embers and the nearly soundless shuffle of your mother's feet as she moved about. She knelt by the hearth, a dark shape against the gloom, adding thin, dry sticks of seasoned spruce, blowing gently until a tiny flame awoke, licked the wood, and grew, painting her face in sudden, warm gold. You sat up, the fur of your blanket soft against your cheek, and wrapped it tighter around your shoulders. The layers of dried grass and deerskin beneath you still held the captured heat of the previous night, a gentle radiance that rose to meet you. A clay pot, blackened from long use, already simmered on a stone beside the fire. Water, a rich piece of smoked buffalo bone, a handful of dried beans, and wild onions softening into a broth that promised warmth from the inside out. On a flat, hot stone at the fire's edge, acorn cakes toasted, their surfaces browning, releasing a scent nutty and sweet with a hint of wild honey. Your father and the others have already gone to check the woodpile and the root cellar, your mother said, her voice still soft with sleep as she deftly turned the cakes with a flat stick. The snow fell deep again last night. We must keep the paths clear and the stores safe from the damp. Her words were practical, but her tone was one of calm routine, the rhythm of stewardship. Soon the hide flap lifted, and your father entered in a swirl of cold air and the clean, icy scent of snow. His hair and the shoulders of his heavy wool fur coat were dusted with fine, sparkling crystals. He stamped his feet, hung his bow by the door, and came to kneel by the fire, holding his broad, strong hands out to the flames. "All's well," he said, his voice a steady, low rumble that filled the tent. "The wood is dry under its cover. The cellar is cold and sealed. The stores are safe." You ate together then, sitting cross-legged on the furs, the rich, hot broth warming your throat, the crisp, nutty cakes satisfying a deeper hunger. The tent, small and shrouded in hides, held you in a precious bubble of warmth and closeness, while the wind sighed its lonely song against the walls. After the meal, as a pale light finally began to seep through the smoke hole, the camp itself seemed to wake and stretch. Women emerged from their tents, wrapped in shawls of rabbit fur or fox, and gathered in the central clearing that had been swept clean of snow. They formed a loose circle, their work a silent conversation. Some brought hides that needed mending, their bone needles flashing as they worked. Others sorted through baskets of dried food, picking out any piece that felt soft or damp, setting it aside to be re-dried by the fire. A few, their hands skilled and patient, wedged lumps of river clay on flat stones, kneading and shaping, beginning new pots or repairing old ones. You sat with your mother in this circle, the cold ground beneath you shielded by a thick buffalo robe. She gave you a needle and a length of sinew thread, showing you how to repair a small tear in a legging. "Small stitches, close together," she whispered, her own hands moving without looking. "The wind is cunning. It finds every weakness." Once, pressing too hard, you drove the sharp bone point into your thumb. A bright bead of blood welled up. Before you could react, your mother had taken your hand from a small pouch at her waist. She pinched a bit of sticky, fragrant pine resin and pressed it gently onto the tiny wound. The sharp sting faded into a warm, tingling sensation. "The forest provides the medicine as well as the wound," she said, with a small smile, her eyes crinkling. "Remember that, not far away, the men's work had its own rhythm and sound. They sat on logs or low stools just outside the circle of tents, their breath pluming in the cold air. The scrape, scrape, scrape of stone on stone was a constant, grinding music as they sharpened axes, honed knife blades, and repaired arrowheads. Fathers called sons over, showing them how to bind a new feather to an arrow shaft with fine, wet sinew that would shrink and hold fast as it dried. Your own father, his morning checks done, took a group of younger boys to the edge of the camp, where targets were set up against a bank of snow. He showed them how to stand in the unstable whiteness, how to sink their weight into their legs, how to draw a bow and aim along the arrow's length. Their breath held not in tension, but in focus, Feel the bows pull in your back, not just your arms, he said, his voice carrying clearly in the still air. Aim with your breath. Let the release be part of the breath leaving you. He saw you watching and gestured you over. His large hands, warm even in the cold, gently corrected your grip on a smaller practice bow. Like this, he murmured, and for a moment, you were not just his child, but a student of an ancient craft. In the afternoon, on days when the wind dropped and the weak sun broke through the blanket of cloud, a different energy took hold. The hard work of the morning eased. Children, bundled into tiny, furry bundles, erupted into the open spaces to play. You joined them, rolling snow into huge balls for the bodies of snow animals, using sticks for antlers, berries for eyes, drawing great, lumbering buffalo shapes in the smooth snow with a pointed stick. From the women's circle came the sound of singing, not the work songs of the morning, but older, slower melodies. The words praised the sun's fleeting warmth, told stories of lovers separated by winter, asked the spirits for safe journeys. The voices wove together, a fragile, beautiful warmth against the vast cold. The men, their tools set aside, might challenge each other to tests of strength, wrestling in the soft snow, a contest of grip and balance, or simply sharing stories of great hunts of winters past, their laughter booming. And always somewhere, the medicine woman might be found with a cluster of listeners, young and old, holding up a dried leaf or a root, explaining its story, its power, its place in the great web of life. As the blue shadows of evening lengthened, the great central fire was built up again, a beacon and a heart. The smell of the evening meal, a stew perhaps, of pounded dried meat, wild rice, and dried mushrooms began to drift, mixing with the perpetual scent of wood smoke. Families gathered closer, voices dropping to murmurs, the day's small triumphs and annoyances shared. This was the daily rhythm of the deep winter, simple, undramatic, woven from necessity and care. It was a life pared down to its essentials: warmth, food, family, community. And yet, in its simplicity, it held a profound richness. All of it you sensed. Even the quietest moment by the fire was a kind of preparation, a living prayer that sustained you not just for the next day, but for the great turning point of the season, the winter festival itself. And then the waiting ended. The camp transformed on the eve of the festival. A purposeful, sacred energy replaced the usual calm. The very air seemed to crackle with anticipation. At the very center of the clearing, where the daily fire burned, the men built something new. The ceremonial fire platform. They used not just any wood, but thick, straight logs of pine, chosen for their resinous, fragrant heartwood. These were laid with ritual care, interlocked, forming a solid, raised square. Then, with a tenderness that spoke of deep meaning, the women and children came forward. They wound the structure with long streamers of tanned hide, painted with ochre and charcoal symbols for the sun, the moon, the four directions. Into these hides, they tucked bright feathers, the blue of the summer sky, the red of autumn leaves, the white of winter snow, until the platform seemed a living, breathing thing, a bridge between the earth and the sky. Around this sacred focus, the women worked with a quiet reverence. They spread the cleanest, softest furs, white deer, brown bear, on the trodden snow. Upon these, they began to arrange the offerings, not hastily, but with thoughtful placement, as one would set a table for the most honored of guests. Smoked buffalo hump and strips of tender venison were laid out. Clay bowls and baskets held pyramids of dried berries, nuts, and beans. A beautifully carved stone bowl, filled to the brim with clear, cold spring water, caught the fading light, and at the very front, facing the platform, they placed the small clay figures, the buffalo, the deer, the birds, the spirits of the animals who had given their lives, now immortalized in earth and fire. These are not just things, your mother said softly, as she adjusted the position of a bowl of dried chokecherries. Her voice was barely a whisper, meant for your ears alone. They are pieces of our summer, of our labor, of our gratitude. We give back the best of what was given to us. We ask for nothing but the continuation of the circle. You nodded, helping her place a garland of feathers around the base of the water bowl. Your fingers, brushing the cold clay, remembered the heat of the summer sun on the riverbank where it was gathered, the feel of the wet, cool earth. Every object here held a memory, a story, a piece of someone's care. You were dressed with special attention. Your mother helped you into the new deerskin robe she had finished just days before. It was softer than a cloud, and she had sewn a border of tiny, finely drilled elk teeth along the cuffs and hem, which clicked together softly when you moved. Around your waist went a belt woven from strips of dyed leather and raven feathers. Lastly, she placed a simple headband on your brow, from which a single, perfect eagle feather hung, pointing down your back. In the polished surface of a black stone mirror, you saw a stranger, your own face, but older, solemn, part of something ancient and vast. Your heart beat a little faster, filled with a nervous awe as the last light drained from the sky. The entire tribe assembled. They came silently, families together, and formed a wide, respectful circle around the prepared platform. No one spoke. The only sounds were the endless sigh of the wind in the pines and the soft settling of the hides they wore. The air, cold and sharp, carried the sense of the offerings, of the pine platform, of the people themselves, a complex, living perfume. Then the eldest elder emerged from the gathering. He was called Watches the Stars, and he seemed as old and wise as the hills. He wore a long robe of black buffalo hide, and upon his head rested a headdress of golden eagle feathers that trailed down his back like sunlight. In his hands, he carried the tribe's most sacred object, a staff taller than he was, made from the leg bone of a great, ancient bear, carved over generations with the story of the people. He stepped into the center, beside the unlit wood. His voice, when it came, did not shout. It was low, dry, and granular, like stones rubbing together. Yet it carried to every ear, "We are here he began, and the words seemed to hang in the frozen air. We stand on the breast of our mother, the earth. We breathe the cold breath of our father, the sky. We thank the earth for her firmness, for the food she grows, for the animals she nurtures. We thank the sky for the rain that drinks the plants, for the sun that gives them life, for the snow that blankets the sleeping land. He raised the bare bone staff high. We remember the ones who came before us, who learned to live here, who taught us the ways. We remember the animals who give their bodies so ours may continue. We are small, but we are part of the great whole. As he spoke these words, he slowly knelt, laying his forehead against the cold earth in a posture of ultimate humility. All around the circle, as if moved by one spirit, the tribe did the same, men, women, children bowing down until their faces touched the snow-covered ground. You knelt between your parents, the cold seeping through your leggings, your own forehead pressing into the crystals of snow. In that moment of complete surrender, you felt not small, but connected, a tiny, living part of the immense, silent, powerful world around you. When they rose, the elder nodded to the medicine woman, she who listens. She stepped forward, her face serene. In one hand, she held a bundle of sweetgrass and sage. In the other, a firebrand taken from the hearth of her own tent. She touched the brand to the bundle until it smoldered, then used this sacred smoke to cleanse the air around the platform, waving it with gentle, sweeping motions. Then she touched the brand to the prepared kindling at the platform's base. There was a crackle, a pop, and then flame leaped up. It caught the dry pine, and with a soft whoosh, the entire structure was ablaze. The fire did not just burn, it roared to life, a tower of light and heat that pushed back the night, painting every face in its dancing, orange glow. The heat hit you like a physical wave, a shocking, beautiful contrast to the deep cold. Sparks swarmed upward, a reverse snowfall of light, vanishing into the black velvet sky. Then she who listens began to dance. It was not a dance of joy, but of prayer in motion. Her feet stamped in a slow, solid rhythm that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the earth. Her body swayed and turned, her arms tracing patterns in the air, the flight of a bird, the growth of a plant, the flow of a river. She shook a rattle made of a gourd and deer hooves, and the sound was like rain on dry leaves. She chanted, her voice rising and falling in a language so old its meanings were felt rather than understood, sounds of pleading, of thanks, of wonder. The flames seemed to dance with her, leaping higher with her movements, their light making her shadow a giant, flickering spirit on the tents behind her. You watched, utterly transfixed, the cold forgotten. This was magic, not the magic of tricks, but the real magic of a human heart speaking directly to the unseen forces of the world. When her dance reached its peak and subsided, the elder and the other old ones came forward again. One by one, they took the offerings from the furs. A piece of the finest meat was cast into the heart of the fire. A handful of precious dried berries followed, hissing and popping. The bowl of water was poured onto the stones at the fire's edge, sending up a great, hissing cloud of steam that glowed in the light. Finally, the clay figures were placed carefully at the very edge of the flames, where the heat would slowly harden them even more, sealing the prayer within. From the earth you came, the elder intoned as each offering was given. By fire you are transformed. May our gratitude rise with the smoke. May our prayers be carried on the wind. With the final offering given, a palpable change swept through the circle. The intense, crackling focus of the ceremony softened, melted, and transformed into something else. A deep, communal joy. The solemn silence broke into 100 voices talking, laughing, calling to one another. The great fire was no longer just a sacred altar. It was now the heart of the tribe's greatest feast. Men brought forward whole haunches of meat that had been roasting in pits all day and carved them with ceremony, handing the first and best pieces to the elders, then to the children, then to everyone. Pots of stew, baskets of flatbread, bowls of frozen berries, sweetened with the last of the autumn honey, were passed from hand to hand. No one ate alone. Every bite was shared. Your father, his face relaxed and smiling in a way you seldom saw during the hard work of winter, beckoned you to sit beside him. As you ate the rich, fatty, wonderful meat, he began to tell a story, not a lesson, but a tale. It was the story of the first winter, when the people were new and did not know how to prepare. The cold was cruel, the game scarce, just as despair was about to claim them. A white buffalo, a spirit being, appeared. It led them to a hidden valley where cedar grew thick for fuel, where spring ran unfrozen, and where a herd of deer waited. The buffalo taught them to smoke meat, to tan hides, to give thanks. And so your father finished, wiping grease from his chin with a laugh. We remember, we prepare, and we give thanks. So the spirit of the white buffalo, the spirit of help, will always remember us in return. As the night deepened, the celebration took on its own life. Someone began to drum, a deep, resonant beat on a stretched hide. Others took up flutes made of bone or river cane. The women began to sing again. But these songs were lively for dancing. People of all ages moved into the open space between the fire and the circle of tents, their shadows leaping crazily. They danced in lines, in circles, laughing when they stumbled in the snow. Your father showed you how to play a simple rhythm on a small hand drum. His large hand over yours, the sound joined the symphony of the night, the drumming, the flutes, the singing, the crackling fire, the laughter that rose like sparks into the starry sky. The cold was forgotten, the darkness was held at bay. For this one long, perfect night, the tribe was not just surviving winter, they were defying it with warmth, with music, with togetherness. You fell asleep long after your usual time, curled in your furs by the tent door, the sounds of the festival singing you into dreams, your heart fuller than you ever remembered it being. But the balance of winter is delicate, and its tests are not always ceremonial. 3 days after the festival, the world turned furious. You woke not to the gentle gray of a winter dawn, but to chaos. The tent shuddered and groaned, as if a giant beast were shaking it. A terrible howling filled the air, drowning out all other sound. The hide walls bulged inward. With each gust, fine, needle-like snow drove through every tiny gap in the seams, stinging your face. The fire was dead, utterly dead, nothing but a mound of cold, gray ash. In the dim, terrifying light, you saw your father braced against the door flap, his muscles straining to hold it against the wind's fury. Your mother was on her knees, frantically stuffing the leaking seams with handfuls of dry moss and grass from the bedding. Her face pale. It came from the north. With no warning, your father shouted over the roar. The snow is already past the bottom of the door. If this keeps up, the tents will be buried. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp with assessment. Your mother looked toward the dwindling stack of firewood in the corner. We have wood for a day, maybe less, if we are sparing. Then, cutting through the storm's scream, came another sound, the thin, frantic wail of a child from the next tent. It was little Aya, the 2-year-old daughter of the toolmaker. Your father's head snapped toward the sound. Sickness, he said grimly, without another word. He wrapped his heaviest fur around his head and shoulders, took a deep breath, and plunged out into the white madness. You and your mother followed, battling your way the few feet to the neighboring tent. Inside, the scene was one of quiet panic. Aya's mother, rain falling softly, cradled her burning child, tears making clean tracks down her dusty cheeks. The little girl's face was flushed a frightening red. Her eyes glazed. She whimpered with each breath. She who listens was already there, her hands on Aya's forehead and chest. She looked up, her expression grave. The cold has taken root deep inside, a burning fever. I need the bitter root, the one that breaks fevers. She meant the orange taproot of the pleurisy root plant. Our store is gone. We used the last for old gray wolf's cough. After the festival, a silence fell, filled only by the storm's shriek and the child's ragged breathing. To go out into that was to risk death. To stay was to watch the child possibly die. Your father broke the silence. I will go. I will take strong arm, quiet bear, and 2 rivers. We know where it grows, on the south-facing bluff, above the creek. We will also cut green wood. It will burn slow and hot if we can get it dry. No one argued. It was the only way. The men gathered quickly, transforming into shapeless bundles of fur, only their eyes visible. They tied themselves together with a long length of braided leather, so none would be lost. Your mother pressed packets of food into their mittened hands. Pemmican, hard travel cakes. Her touch lingered on your father's arm. A wordless communication of fear and hope. Then they were gone, swallowed by the swirling white curtain. What followed were the longest hours of your life. The camp became a fortress under siege. The women and older children worked as one. You helped your mother and the others take apart the inner linings of unused sleeping furs, using the extra hides to add a second layer to the windward sides of the tents, lashing them down with every spare thong. You took turns, hour by hour, tending the tiny, precious fire in your tent, using the wood as sparingly as possible, blowing on coals to keep a single, fragile flame alive for when the men returned. Your main task was to stay with rain falling softly, and Aya, you fetched snow to melt for water. You held the cup for the mother to sip and tried to coax a few drops into the child. You kept a compress of clean, cool snow wrapped in thin leather on Aya's brow. She who listens burned small pinches of dried cedar and sage, chanting softly, asking the healing spirits of the plants to come. Even in their absence, the storm screamed on, an endless, mindless fury. The temperature dropped until the air inside the tent hurt to breathe. You huddled with the others for warmth, sharing body heat like a den of animals. The waiting was a cold stone in your belly. You thought of your father out in that whiteness, unable to see his own hand, the deadly cold seeking any gap in his furs. You thought of the little root, buried under feet of snow on a windswept bluff. You prayed, not with words, but with every fiber of your being, sending out a desperate, silent call into the storm. Come back, be safe, bring the medicine. Time lost all meaning. It was measured in the gradual consumption of the firewood, in the slowing of Aya's whimpers, as she sank into a deeper, more frightening sleep, in the growing numbness in your own fingers and toes. Then a sound, a muffled shout, barely audible over the wind. Then another. People stirred. Someone pushed back the door flap. Dark, staggering shapes appeared in the blinding drift, crusted with ice, moving like men made of snow. They were back. They half carried, half dragged each other into the tent, collapsing in a heap of frozen fur and exhaustion. They were ice monsters, their eyelashes frozen together, beards of ice clinging to their faces. But from a bundle under his arm, your father produced a leather pouch. He fumbled with frozen fingers, then poured out a handful of small, dirty, orange roots. The bluff was bare. Wind almost took us. Found them under a rock ledge, he gasped, his teeth chattering uncontrollably. There was no time for relief. She who listens snatched the roots. With a stone mortar and pestle, she pounded them into a pulp, mixed them with a little warm water from the pot you had kept barely simmering, and strained the bitter liquid into a small bone cup. Rain falling softly lifted Aya, pried open her small mouth, and trickled the medicine in. The child coughed, swallowed, coughed again. Then she lay still, breathing still too fast. But the terrible, high-pitched whine in her breath had eased. Only then did attention turn to the men. Their outer furs were frozen solid, like wooden shells. They had to be cut off with knives. Beneath, their hands and feet were white and waxy with frostbite. The women worked quickly, rubbing the frozen flesh with snow first, a painful but vital process to slowly bring back circulation. Then with warm hands, then with soothing salves of rendered fat and powdered yarrow. Your father sat by the fire you had nursed, now built up with the precious, resinous green wood they had brought, which spat and sizzled, but gave off a tremendous heat. He winced as feeling returned to his fingers in painful, prickling waves. But he watched as Aya's mother fed her another sip of broth, and a ghost of a smile touched his cracked lips. The storm raged for another full day and night, but the crisis had passed. The medicine worked. Aya's fever broke in a drenching sweat. She woke, weak and confused, but alive. The green wood, once dried by the fire, burned long and hot, keeping the deadly cold at bay. When the wind finally died on the second morning, an eerie, exhausted silence fell over the camp. People emerged from their tents like survivors from a shipwreck, blinking in the sudden, brilliant sunlight that sparkled on a world sculpted into strange, sweeping dunes of snow. That afternoon, the whole tribe gathered by the central fire, which was now a cheerful, normal blaze. The mood was subdued but powerful, a quiet hum of shared ordeal. The elder watches the stars, looked older than ever, but his eyes were clear. "The great wind has tested the lodge of our people," he said, his voice carrying in the crisp air. It found no single pole standing alone, but many poles lashed together. It shook us, but it could not break us. The men faced the white darkness for the life of a child. The women held the warmth inside for the life of all. The child herself fought the fire inside her body. This is our strength. It does not live in one chest, but in the circle we make together. The earth is powerful and sometimes harsh. Our power is in not forgetting that we are part of it and part of each other. Your father sat beside you, his bandaged hands resting in his lap. He looked out at the transformed landscape, then down at you. "The land gives and the land takes," he said quietly, his teaching voice returning. "It gives us the root that heals, and it sends the storm that makes us need it. We cannot control it. We can only learn its ways, respect its power, and be ready to stand together when it tests us, like these logs." He nudged a piece of wood further into the fire with his foot. "One alone blackens and goes out. Many together make a light that can be seen for miles." In the days that followed, the world began slowly to change again. The fierce cold relented. The sun climbed a little higher each day, and its touch held a new, promising warmth. The monstrous snow dunes shrank, settling into themselves, revealing patches of dark, wet earth from the eaves of the tents. A steady drip, drip, drip began, a new music replacing the wind's howl. The stream at the edge of camp, silent under a lid of ice for so long, began to groan and crack, then to gurgle joyously as meltwater raced beneath the surface. Life in the camp turned outward. The men worked to clear paths through the slush, to check traps along the now visible game trails, and to begin the careful, observant scouting for the first signs of returning game. The women brought out all the winter bedding and clothing, hanging the furs on lines in the sun to air out the long winter's closeness, beating them with sticks to loosen dust and renew their loft. The storage tents were opened, and a full accounting was made. What was left, what had spoiled, what would carry them until the first fresh greens appeared. There was a sense of relief, of a long exhalation. You spent a morning with your mother by the now lively stream, kneeling on flat rocks, washing the soot and salt from the winter's worth of tunics and leggings. The water was bitingly cold, but it felt like life itself. The other girls were there too. And as your hands grew numb in the current, you began to sing a simple, rhythmic song about the snow melting and the grass waking up. Your voices, young and clear, mingled with the water's chuckle. Later, you walked with your father to check his trapline. The forest was different, dripping, sighing, full of the sounds of secret thaw. He showed you the first fuzzy catkins on the willow branches, a sure sign the sap was rising. Soon, he said, the deer will come down from the high hills. Their winter coats will be loose. The bears will stir. It is a busy time, a good time. One evening, as the last of the sunset turned the lingering patches of snow pink, you sat with your parents on a log at the camp's edge, wrapped in a shared blanket. The air smelled of wet earth and wood smoke. This winter, your father began, will be a story you tell long from now. You nodded, leaning into his solid shoulder. It was hard, you said, but it was full. Your mother took your hand, her skin warm and familiar. The winter festival is the hinge, she said softly, gazing at the first star appearing in the violet sky. It is not just a day on the calendar. It is a promise we make. We look back and say thank you for all that brought us through. We look into the hardest part of the cold and say we are not afraid, for we are together. And in doing that, we turn the year. We invite the spring. The winter teaches us the weight of warmth, the value of what we have stored, not just in our cellars, but in our hearts. It shows us that our true strength is a net, woven from many threads. You sat there in the deepening twilight, her words sinking into you. You thought of the blazing festival fire, a sun made by human hands in the depth of darkness. You thought of the terrifying, beautiful dance of she who listens, a human body speaking the language of the spirits. You thought of the frozen, desperate journey for a bitter root and the warmth of many bodies huddled against a storm. You thought of the daily rhythm, the sewing, the wood shopping, the storytelling, the shared meals. It was all one thing. It was a way of living, a way of being in the world that was humble, grateful, tough, and deeply connected. The cold had been a great teacher, and you had been listening. The snow retreated, revealing more and more of the brown, sleeping earth. Then one morning, you saw it, a flash of brilliant green at the very edge of the melting snowbank by your tent. You knelt. It was a cluster of snowdrops, their delicate white heads bowed, but their leaves a fierce, vibrant emerald against the dark soil. You did not pick it. You simply looked, and a happiness, quiet and profound, filled you completely. Winter was ending, but what it had taught you would remain, a warmth inside that no spring thaw could carry away. Friends, the journey is complete. The story of the winter camp settles now into the quiet of memory. Perhaps you can still feel the heaviness of the fur robe, smell the sharpness of the pine smoke, hear the low murmur of voices blending with the fire's crackle. This was a world woven from attention to the wind's direction, to the feel of a hide, to the sound of a child's breath, to the position of a star. It reminds us that comfort is not about having much, but about truly knowing what you have. That strength is rarely a solitary roar, but often a quiet, shared endurance. That time moves in circles, not just lines, from season to season, challenge to respite, gathering to sharing. As you drift towards sleep, carry with you the image of that final, brave green shoot, piercing the snow. Life, persistent and gentle, always returns, and so does rest. May you find warmth in your own heart's hearth, connection in your own tribe, and a deep, peaceful trust in the turning of your own seasons. Good night.